The hosts feel it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to. Well, we've warned you. Hello, and welcome once again to the Frankencast. I'm the mad scientist, Anthony Bowman. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm joined as always by...
the scrotum-headed villain that is Eric Velasquez. My pronouns are also he, him. Tell me he's not. Tell me he's not. I looked at that face and thought, balls.
He gets worse as the movie goes, too.
I know. He's got a scraggly beard. He's living that pube life. It's amazing.
Yeah, the CGI technology they got going for that wispy beard is pretty impressive.
Yup. So, if you didn't notice, folks, this week we're talking about Hotel Transylvania 3. What's the subtitle for this thing?
Yeah, it's something like Vacation something.
We don't even care that much. Like, fuck it. Yeah, whatever this thing is.
Yeah, it's a
dip in quality for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's just called Summer Vacation. Yeah. Yep.
That's it. Like, Genndy, Tartakovsky, and Adam Sandler are both like, listen, man, we're just here for that check at this point. Like, I don't even know that we really cared too much in the first two.
Yeah, it's just like, each one has gotten a little worse than the last one. And this one, like, they added, like, the two new cast members are both, like, good actors. Like, it seems like they could have... this isn't terrible. I mean, it's a kid's sequel. But yeah, it feels like they were trying to add some things that could have been impressive, but it didn't really come together as well as you would hope.
Fell flat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so let's get into this cast list one more time. So we know that we've got Adam Sandler as Dracula, Andy Samberg as Jonathan, Selena Gomez as Mavis, Murray is Keegan-Michael Key once again. Kevin James is Frankenstein, even though every once in a while I'm like, man, this part could literally just be played by Seth Rogen.
It sounds so much like Seth Rogen. I keep second-guessing that myself.
Right? Mm-hmm. And, of course, David Spade is Griffin, who seems like he oscillates between, like, a couple lines, and then in the last one he was a main character, really. Mm-hmm. And then he goes back to, like, a couple lines in this one.
Yeah.
We get Steve Buscemi as Wayne, Fran Drescher as Eunice, Mel Brooks returns. Hey, he's done a sequel one time in his career. Molly Shannon as Wanda, of course. And we've got a couple new faces in this one, okay? Mm-hmm. So, as you mentioned, we have Catherine Hahn as Erica Van Helsing. Mm-hmm. Okay? Catherine Hahn going on to do, like, kind of, I'm not going to say a late start in her career, but she's already an established actress, and now she's kind of hitting big once she got to that Marvel money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's always been kind of like a character actress that you'd see in a lot of comedies, but then, I think WandaVision, that really just, like, took her to the next level.
Right, now she's in everything. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we got Jim Gaffigan as the aforementioned scrote-headed villain, Abraham Van Helsing.
Yeah.
And a couple cool actresses that at least Tara Strong is a cool actress. Chrissy Teigen, like, I know she's ran into some things. Who knows what's up with her? She's all right though. Right now. But Chrissy Teigen is the Invisible Woman Crystal, I believe.
Okay.
And she gets actual speaking lines. Griffin's girlfriend actually has speaking lines. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. And then going back to Tara Strong, she's just called Frankenlady. We know who she is. She has big, strong arm.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like maybe part of the problem with this movie is
they keep adding new cast members, and they just don't have room to do anything with them.
Yeah. There's a lot of big personalities that don't get the flex.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily this time Wayne and Wanda, they get something though, you know?
Yeah, their storyline is one of the more entertaining ones. They only get a few scenes, but they like tell a pretty complete story throughout the movie. And it's pretty fun.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get this party started. One thing I've noticed, Anthony, is there's no bat. Columbia doesn't turn into a bat in this one. As a matter of fact, Columbia's missing.
Yeah. No Columbia logo at all. It's just like the Sony animation, and I feel like there was one other logo. But yeah, it's not, no Columbia at all. Mm-hmm. Then we go straight to a title card, Transylvania 1897. So we're going back in time here to start with.
Right. At this point, shouldn't, if we're talking about Dracula, shouldn't he be harassing some people in Carfax Abbey?
Yeah, that should be
right. Okay, just checking.
But instead, it's like him and the monster crew. They're all on a train, and they're wearing shawls as disguises, kind of trying to look like old ladies or something. Right.
Which that's an interesting pull. Okay, fair enough.
But then there's like a kid in the seat in front of them that sees them and realizes they're, monsters.
Right. Even's like, I'm about to freak out, man.
Yeah, and it's just like, such a silly German accent on this little boy. And then Dracula hypnotizes him and makes him think that he is a cat.
Right. Well, how long does that last? Like, have we established, like, is this kid going through life thinking he's a cat?
Yeah, because it happens a little later. There's something where it pays off, but then they part ways. So who knows how long that hypnotism's gonna stick around.
So then we get somebody just busting into the train, and turns out it's Abraham Van Helsing.
Yeah, and he starts like going on like, Van Helsing's a hero technically, but in this movie he's the villain, because the monsters are our heroes. So he kind of goes through like a monologue, a villain monologue.
It's about damn time, Anthony. The monsters were the heroes all along.
Yeah. And he just kind of is walking along the train car, like just looking at everybody. He knows something's up here. There's a passenger with a chicken that he like Van Helsing scares the guy's chicken. He's just like, it's not in a cage. He's just sitting there with a chicken sitting in his lap.
That chicken. No.
And he's like, I know what to do to flush out the monsters. And he pulls out a match and lights it, holds it up right in Frankenstein's face, which causes the normal panic. Frankenstein jumps up, yells fire bad. Chaos breaks out in the train car.
Oh no.
We have everybody kind of running, trying to escape. The little German kid yowls like a cat and runs away.
I think we get a train top chase scene.
Yeah. Van Helsing pulls out this like blaster that is straight out of Ghostbusters. Like, it's just shooting this big like wobbly laser beam, and everybody's running around on the train roof, and then suddenly Dracula's like, sorry guys, and then just shoves them all off the train.
Right. All of his friends. And then they just all like seem to land on branches, which I feel like that's very painful for Griffin. And we know that Murray definitely lands keister first onto the branch sticking out, because we hear a lot of
Frankenstein hits and like falls apart, and then pretty much everybody else, it's some just classic groin humor, injuries.
Right. Well, once again, Griffin's just a guy. He's an invisible guy.
Yeah.
That's it.
And, a naked invisible guy, so he doesn't even have any kind of protection. Yeah, he's straight into that tree.
Ooh.
So then we've got, Van Helsing and Dracula facing off head to head there on the roof of the train. And Van Helsing's like, generations of my family have failed, but I will defeat you. I'll destroy you. And then I'll hunt down all your friends and destroy them as well.
Yeah. Well, and also, though, like, he transitions between, Dracula turns into a mouse at that point. And he's like, squeak, squeak, squeak. And Van Helsing's like, ah!
And then the train goes through a tunnel, and so now Dracula's a little mouse. He's fine, but Van Helsing gets clotheslined by the tunnel. It's a classic like Roadrunner Wile E. Coyote gag, pretty much.
Right, exactly. But then, of course, we get like a small montage of Van Helsing like trying to kill Dracula in many different ways and failing spectacularly each and every time.
Yeah, he like crashes a car into a wall. Like eventually he ends up going off a cliff. But yeah, it's just 5 or 6 different like things that should have killed him, but somehow he keeps trying again and again. Again, more like Wile E. Coyote.
Right, until eventually Van Helsing just falls off a cliff like Wile E. Coyote and just takes a dive into the ocean.
And then you just see him underwater, like screaming mad, like just he's failed again.
Right, and I guess at this point Dracula hasn't met Mavis's mother because he's like, I wonder, maybe one day we can have a place where monsters can get together and relax and maybe get married.
Yeah. And then it immediately cuts to the present day where Dracula is performing a wedding ceremony for a very nervous, like, spike monster, just like this weird lumpy thing covered in spikes. And it's one of those deals where, like, everybody's anxiously waiting for the bride to appear and she's not appearing. And it's like, is this going to be a runaway bride situation?
Right. Oh, it's not exactly. She's just having the pre-wedding jitters.
Yeah.
Which I have questions about zing now because of this, right?
Right. That's true, yeah.
Because if you zinged, like, that's it. You're good. It's over. If you both zinged, right?
Yeah, one would assume.
But this monstress, I guess her name's Lucy, is like, I don't know, is this the right thing to do? You've zinged. Like, isn't that the only thing you can do at this point?
Yeah. And that's pretty much like so Mavis is back in like the bridal suite and she's pretty much telling her this, like, you know, you zinged, you need to cherish this. You know, this is special. And finally she's like, okay, so then the wedding commences, you know, she goes walking down the aisle and I was thinking Dracula officiated, but no, it's Blobby.
Blobby, yeah, it's Blobby. He gets a lot of screen time in this for some reason. Like a lot. He gets a character arc. Yeah,
I feel like Blob, you know, they put a lot more of Blobby in the last movie, and I think kids must have really responded to him, and then they're like, well, we want you to sell more Blobby plushes. So
right, I guess.
And also, did you see that Genndy Tartakovsky voices Blobby?
That's amazing.
He makes the Blobby noises.
That's amazing.
Pretty much like as soon as the wedding ends, or like as you may kiss the bride kind of thing, Dennis and Winnie burst into the banquet hall or whatever.
But they have a big puppy now.
Yeah, Dennis has a new dog named Tinkles that is, you know, the size of a school bus, but it's a puppy.
It's a monstrous pug, basically.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you now. Okay, so Winnie's a werewolf.
Yeah.
Is Tinkles her cousin? How does she feel about this?
There's like one point where they make a joke about like dogs aren't allowed, and Winnie's like, Right. And they're like, I mean, pets aren't allowed. And yeah, that's pretty much the only mention they make of this. But yeah, it seems like this is a gray area because Tinkles is theoretically some kind of monster also, because that's not a normal dog.
No.
Pugs
don't say hi, Bob.
Yeah. And yeah, he trashes the whole reception area. Or the wedding area. They're getting ready to go to the reception. And, you know, Mavis is like, you know, I know you're sad that Tinkles was, you know, in his crate upstairs or whatever, but, like, we can't take our pets everywhere. He needs to go back upstairs so that we can, you know, have a nice reception.
Which is rough, you know?
Yeah, and Dennis is, like, you know, clearly very attached to this dog. Well, really, like, the arc with Dennis and his dog is one of the bigger parts of the movie as well.
Which is surprising, but yeah, and I do like how Drac's like, who let this kid have a dog? And everyone's like, well, you wanted him to have the dog, so.
Yeah, it was you. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
We got Johnny DJing. Come on.
Yeah. So, like, the reception's in full swing. Everybody's dancing. And Dracula's just kind of over to the side watching. And you can tell, like, this is actually pretty well done because, like, there's not a lot of dialogue about it. You can just tell Dracula's lonely. Like, he misses being part of a couple. He misses his wife and, you know, just that partnership.
Yeah, the animation and acting are actually good here in this regard. It's easy to tell. But he gets asked to dance.
Yeah, and this is our Franken girl that you mentioned earlier.
Right. Initially, I was like, "Oh, this is Sally from," because she's got the long red hair and the stitches on her on her mouth.
Yeah, And like at first, she's like, they played this character up like she's a very attractive Frankenstein girl, and then
we find out that she's Frank's arm's first cousin.
I think first cousin twice removed or something like that. Right. And then she turns, and we were not able to see earlier, but her arm that's related to Frank is a huge, massive. So she's like this really like petite little redhead with just one giant like bulky arm.
Listen, she really wanted to see how much she could lift with that one arm.
Right. And so she's like, they're kind of trying to flirt, but she keeps crushing Dracula with her giant arm.
Right. Yeah, he's not feeling it. He hasn't zinged.
Yeah. So he uses magic to change the song that's playing, and she's like, "Oh my god, I love this song!" And he like takes off in the other direction and
he starts fist pumping to the song.
Yeah. So he goes to like talk to the guys, and they're like, "Drac, it's been like over 100 years. You need to stop being picky. You got to find somebody."
Right. There's these things on phones called apps. They let you swipe right.
Yeah, but Dracula's like, you can only zing once. That's too bad. I'm out of luck. And Griffin's like, no, but you can zing on the app. It's right. You don't even have to go anywhere.
Yeah. He's like, oh, okay. Well, I gotta go, guys. See you later. Blah blah blah. And they're like, he blah blah blah. He said the thing.
And yeah, he peeks his head back in and he's like, I do not say that. And
clearly
then,
you do.
Yeah. Then we just see him upstairs, and he's like talking to the like Siri thing on his phone, and he's just like, help me to zing, or like he keeps trying, saying the wrong, and he's like, I'm very lonely, and she's like, did you say you want bologna? So the speech recognition is not going well, but then it just like a little later we see that he figured it out, and he's swiping on an app that's called Zinger.
Right. He's only going left though.
Then like he accidentally calls a person on the app, and it's like a witch lady, and Mavis is walking.
Catfished him, by the way.
Yeah.
Like totally different picture. It's rude.
And Mavis hears it, like she's walking down the hall and hears stuff going on through the wall, and just like pops in to see what's going on, and he's like trying to hide his phone. He doesn't want her to know. Mavis is convinced that he's just really overworked. That's why he's upset and been acting kind of weird.
Because he's also cleaning the attic, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm just on here looking for a maid. And of course the witch is like, what?
Right. Yeah. But he's like, no, I promise, I'm all right. You can go back to bed. I'm okay. And she's like, we all just need a break. And he's like, yeah, probably so, but let's worry about that later. It's, we're fine for now.
And he pushes her out the door.
Yep. And then we have her back, or, she arrives back in her room. And,
it's an adorable scene.
Oh, yeah, it's very cute.
Johnny, Dennis, and Tinkle's all sleeping together in a pile.
Yeah, they've all fallen asleep in front of the TV. She comes and kind of cuddles up next to Johnny, and he sort of like half wakes up and is like, "Oh no, I'm missing our date night." And she's like, "It's okay, just go back to sleep." And it's a sweet moment, but it's that thing where it's like these moments are nice, but like she also feels like something's missing. Like they're not getting their time as a couple.
Right. And lo and behold, what should happen? We get an ad from the TV, our savior, offering a monster of a vacation to the tune of Orinoco Flow.
Right. Yeah.
From those Pure Moods albums in the 90s.
Right. And of course that grabs Mavis's attention, and that pretty much, it immediately just cuts to them heading out for the vacation.
They're gonna fly Gremlin Air.
Mm-hmm. We get it's like a great gag because we see like that shot you get in movies when people are traveling where you just see the plane in the sky, and it's like a really nice jet, and then it goes out of frame, and then this janky Goblin Air plane comes in. It's all like busted up and like held together with duct tape. Smoke coming out of the back. It's just in rough shape.
Right. And I love the Gremlins because they are havoc monsters, like pure chaos incarnate. They're just running around screaming at everyone on the plane. Yeah. These quote stewardess is like, beverages, snacks, and just like throwing them in people's faces.
Yeah. This whole bit is pretty entertaining. Mm-hmm. While this is going on, Dracula is talking to Mavis, and he's like, where are we going? I hate surprises. And she's like, it's got to be a surprise. I've got it all under control. Don't worry about it. Everything's taken care of. And then Dennis, like, I think he acts like he's got to go to the bathroom, and goes down into the hold of the plane, which, because this thing's in such rough shape, you can just do that.
Right. Well, him and Winnie are kind of conspiring to get him down there to check on Tinkles, right?
Yeah. So that's what he heads down there for. Is they have somehow smuggled Tinkles on board. At first, I thought like just that the goblins didn't know, but like no, the parents don't know. Like nobody knows. Somehow Dennis was able to get this dog on the plane.
Right. Also, during this scene, I have a question: who did Chris Parnell piss off? Because his Fly character just got ran over and squished.
Yeah, and then he just ends up like the Fly gets.
He's out.
Yeah, and then he just becomes one of the fish that we'll meet a little later. Like,
right,
I guess they just didn't want him playing two characters for some reason. I don't know.
But yeah, this is the only quote unquote character death we've seen because his eyes pop out.
Yeah.
He's like, I just don't want to play the Fly anymore. I'm above that role.
Right. They've arrived at their destination, but because this is a terrible plane, they're over the ocean still, and they just, like, crash. Like, the plane just...
It's not just that. They're like, oh, we're going to begin our descent soon. And literally one gremlin just whacks the engine with a hammer.
Yeah. And yeah, so the plane just, like, dives into the ocean. But that was the plan, because they've arrived at their destination, the Bermuda Triangle.
Did you catch that they had a... there's something on the wing moment with Johnny.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah, he looked out there and there was a gremlin like staring at him.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're at the Bermuda Triangle and they're going on a cruise.
Oh.
Yeah, and so, Mavis is like, it's time, you spent all your time locked up in the hotel. You need to get out and you need to make new memories with your family.
I love how unimpressed Dracula is because he's like, we're going on a cruise. That's like a hotel, but on water.
Right. And that becomes like a running gag where everybody keeps being like, wait, they have hot tubs? And Dracula's like, we have hot tubs at the hotel.
Right.
We have all the amenities. Everything that you're excited about, we already have those things. And but not on a boat.
Water.
Yeah.
And like the ship that pulls up, like, am I wrong? It looks like just half of the Titanic. Wow, that was weird.
Yeah, it does. Which that would be kind of like, that would have been interesting if they like leaned into that and been like, monsters have recovered the Titanic to go.
Oh, that would be so good. Anthony, we got to rewrite the script.
Yeah. And yeah, so as we just mentioned, Chris Parnell is now playing. The staff of the boat are all fish that have human feet and wear little tuxedos.
Right. And eventually scuba suits, which there's a question for you. As a matter of fact, when they go for the dive, why does any of them need scuba like equipment?
Yeah, most of them don't breathe, theoretically.
Right. Like Johnny, sure. Dennis, maybe. I guess the werewolves would probably need it. Maybe
Griffin would, but yeah, Frankenstein and Dracula definitely shouldn't.
No. And Blobby, like, I feel like he would just float,
Yeah.
He's fine.
So while the like adult monsters are kind of like seeing the boat and, getting settled in, Dennis is leading Tinkles to the boat and sees that there's a huge sign that says no pets.
So what do him and Winnie decide to do? Well, Tinkles isn't a pet anymore. He's Bob.
They put him in a trench coat, which is what every kid does when they need to disguise themselves as an adult.
Because that's what adults wear.
And yeah, it's a classic. Like they walk him up to the reception and they're like, "This is our friend Bob. Say hi, Bob." And he's like, "Hi, Bob."
Hi, Bob. That's interesting. That's fun. But of course, Winnie also kisses Dennis, showing that she's ready for her zing.
Mm-hmm.
And he maybe has cold feet about the zing.
Yeah. So then I think it's a little later. It's the orientation kind of thing. Like if you've ever been on a cruise, like the cruise director and the captain and everybody, they got to come out and welcome you and tell you what to expect and all that. Our captain comes out. She is like this attractive human, like in all white, and Dracula zings as soon as he sees her.
Immediately.
Yeah. And he's acting so weird that Mavis is like, is he having a heart attack? And
right.
I think Griffin's like, the only heart attack we'd have to worry about with him is if someone attacks his heart with a stake.
Hey, David Spade's getting paid well for this one. But yeah, so Captain Erica introduces herself to Dracula, and he just starts, going gooba gaba gaba gaba.
It's that like Adam Sandler gibberish, just the nonsense that he used to do a lot back in the day. And she's like, "Are you speaking?"
Something like that.
Yeah, and she's like, "Are you speaking Transylvanian? I've always wanted to learn." And she starts like mimicking back what he's doing.
Right. Apparently, she somewhat understands it too at this point.
Yeah. So at this point, it's not been spelled out, but they give it away pretty quick. But it's pretty obvious. Like this is Van Helsing. This is there's something going on here that's fishy. But yeah, as soon as she leaves, Dracula tells the boys, she's like, "I zinged."
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, and he's like, he didn't think that was even possible. It's a once in a life. Yeah. Meanwhile, Vlad is strolling around the deck in a Speedo and catching. Yeah. And all the like hag witches are like into it.
Yeah, this is their thing.
And it's just such a silly gag. We see Blobby, who is getting seasick, and it seems like he would be the least likely to get seasick since he's always kind of just moving like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, he vomits, but the vomit's sentient. So he's a single parent, or they are a single parent?
Yeah, it's just a little mini baby Blobby now.
Right.
And then we see Wayne and Wanda walking around, and they're just, in their normal state, which is just constantly swarmed by like a tornado of pups. And then they see a door that says Kids Club. And
what's a kids club?
Yeah, what's that? So they go inside, and they're completely confused by the concept. They're like, so you're going to take our kids, and like, we don't have to mess with them? Like, you'll deal with them?
That's the point.
Yeah, like, why? And he's like, so that you have a good time, and so they have a good time? Like, that's what the cruise is for. We're going to, try to make things easy on you. And they're like, okay. So they like immediately drop the kids off, and they rush outside, and they're like, wait, what do we do now? Like,
we can do whatever we want.
And they just keep saying whatever we want over and over again. Like they're just like in shock at the idea of having freedom for a moment.
Right. Which, good for them, I guess, question mark. But they know how litters are made, right?
Right. And then we see downstairs, the captain sneaks into a secret room, and then, the secret is revealed that, she's talking to her great-grandfather, Van Helsing, the original one we saw earlier.
And he's looking rough.
Yeah, he's super old. His hair's all wispy. He had a weird hairdo at the beginning we didn't really mention.
All the Van Helsings apparently do.
Yeah, and it's still weird, but now there's just less of it. And he's just a head attached to like this steampunk contraption.
Right. And to be fair, he's more of a monster than most of the monsters. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a little bit like Davros from Doctor Who, or like Captain Pike in like the original Star Trek, just like a weird rolling suit thing with a head sticking out of the top.
Pretty much. Yeah. And then, of course, Erica, she acts repulsed by Dracula, but it's like, oh, they're going to fall in love. Like that's the whole thing. Because she's like, I don't like him, but he's kind of cute.
Yeah.
Like, okay. All right.
Yeah. And yeah, she's like, I just hate the monsters so much. It was so I can't believe how close I was to Dracula. Van Helsing is like, we've got to stick to the plan. Mm-hmm. We've got to go get the artifact that sunk Atlantis, then we'll be able to trap the monsters and sink Atlantis again.
Right. I mean, we're just rehashing the greats on that one, right?
Yeah.
Sink Atlantis again.
Erica's like, but, I might be able to kill Dracula before we even deal with all that. And Van Helsing's like, stick to the plan. Do not try to kill...
You won't kill him.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we discovered that apparently the reason why Atlantis was destroyed was because it was full of monsters.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird, but okay.
Right. And so, Erica is like, well, I got to get back to work. So she goes back upstairs and immediately just starts trying to kill Dracula.
So many ways.
And this is another kind of montage. It's very similar to the bit earlier with Dracula and Van Helsing.
Oh, also, did you notice that the carpet in Dracula's room, whenever he starts getting snazzily dressed, is a Shining reference.
I didn't. I usually always catch that Shining carpet.
The colors are off, but the design is the exact same.
Nice.
So it's almost like they inverted the colors a little bit. And I'm like, that's a Shining right there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like Dracula and Blobby, and they're just like strolling through the boat, feeling good. Like, I think Dracula's got on his Hawaiian shirt now, and
his short shorts.
Mm-hmm. This feels like the Staying Alive Saturday Night Fever bit or something. Like there's music going, and he's just strutting, and Blobby's strutting. As much as Blobby can, and then Erica keeps trying to kill Dracula, but mostly ends up just hitting Blobby over and over again. Right. But it doesn't hurt him because he's Blobby.
He's invincible. He's Blobby, yeah.
And it's like one of those things where, like, not only is he not getting hurt, they don't even realize that anything's going on. Like, they're just continuing along. And then I think eventually Dracula gets to his friends, and he's like, I'm feeling pretty good about all this, but, like, what's Mavis going to think? Like, I don't know if I can tell her. I think she's going to be sad that it's, somebody other than her mom, which, this is pretty normal single parent concerns.
Yeah, of course, the stepmom, stepdad thing where the kid's a little leery of them.
Mm-hmm. And at that point, Mavis comes over to talk to them and is like, I'm so glad that we're all here together and we're spending family time.
So I could destroy you at Monster Ball! Dun, dun, dun.
Which Monster Ball is just volleyball in the pool.
With a sentient volleyball. That's it.
Yeah. Just so that it can be hurt. Is pretty much it. Just so they can hit it and it can scream in pain.
Right. I do like the bit here where Eunice is like, whatever you do, don't get my hair wet. You're in a pool. You're playing Monster Ball in a pool. This is on you.
Yeah, and it pretty much immediately gets her hair wet. By the end of it, the captain pops out and is like, all right, we're arriving at our first destination, the underwater volcano.
Yay, I guess.
Which I don't know, like, there's a lot of underwater volcanoes.
Right. What's special about this one?
Yeah. But they all put on, like we said earlier, they put on scuba suits and
right. But I do like how Dracula at this point is like, I just came here for family fun.
Yeah.
Not to sing.
Yeah. So they all go overboard. They're, swimming around. And meanwhile, the captain gets in like a little mini submarine that is disguised as a fish.
Right. This is a great disguise, as we'll find out in a moment.
Yeah.
Then we get a cool little, fun little scene where a shark tries to attack Dennis. Dracula hypnotizes the shark and turns it into a pet.
Yeah. And they all like ride the shark and swim around with it, and then like a whale shows up, and I think is it Johnny? Somebody else rides a whale for a little bit, and then a manta ray appears. They're just having a good time, like riding various sea creatures.
Right. This is the Little Mermaid thing that they wanted to do, right? Mm-hmm. But we also get Erica's pulling up in her fish-shaped ship, and is like, I'm finally going to destroy Dracula. Oh, they're cute family. So she's all, once again, this is her falling in love with Dracula because he's being him. And she's like, no, I'm going to destroy you anyway. And tries to fire the missiles. And what happens to the missiles? I honestly forgot. They just dodge them, right?
Yeah, I think the monsters see the sub and they think it's a big fish. So they just swim over to the fish, and then that causes the missiles to fly past them.
And then Dracula just grabs the ship and pulls it close.
Yeah. They want to take pictures, which Mavis takes pictures of him next to this fish, and he shows up in the pictures. And in the last movie, there was that photo montage where they didn't show up in the pictures.
Right. And also, clearly this is an automaton. There's a glass dome at the top.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, of course this is a device. Mm-hmm. But Mavis does get a little skeptical when she sees some white pence cuffs in the edge of her shot.
Yeah, because when they're taking the picture, Erica, does ejector seat thing and tries to get away, and somehow they don't see her, except that Mavis gets some photographic evidence.
Which it's maybe the captain did want to go out and just hang out. So why would it matter?
Yeah. And then we cut back to the boat, and Frank, Griffin, and Murray have left the group early. because they're all hungry. So they like come up through, those like, I don't know what they're called, but you see them in a lot of movies and stuff where it's like a water barrier where you could just like swim through the ocean into the boat, like up into a swimming pool, basically. So they climb out and they hear the captain, who's like over to the side, talking about how she's going to get Dracula someday.
Well, of course, they misunderstand, and they're like, she zinged right back!
Yeah.
That's the takeaway there.
Yeah, so they rush upstairs. They're excited to tell Dracula. But first, we see Dennis and Winnie. They're continuing to try to hide their friend Bob from the family.
Say hi, Bob. Hi, Bob.
Yeah. And at that point, I was like, is this it feels like they just needed to do something with Dennis and Winnie, and they just like, this plot doesn't really intersect with the rest of the movie for the most part. Eventually I think it does a little bit, but I think they probably could have like just gotten rid of this whole storyline and tightened the movie up just a little bit.
What we're saying is Tinkles brought nothing to the party.
Yeah. And then, so the boys get to Dracula, and they're like, Dracula's talking to Mavis, and they're like, hey, come here, we need to tell you something. And like, Mavis is like, can tell they're all acting suspicious, she's like, whatever. And so they go away, and they give Dracula the news that it sounds like Captain Erica has also zinged. And so then they decide they're going to give him a bunch of advice on how he should win Erica over.
Yep, and he takes all of it at once.
And it's like, all the advice is not great individually, but when you try to do a mashup of the 3 different sets of bad advice, it's even worse.
The only thing I really like, I remember they were talking about the coffin and the raps and all this other stuff, but it was the show you my bits part that got me.
Right. And so it's like, I can't remember the exact lines, but like when he mashes it all up, he ends up saying something, really stupid and kind of off-putting. But, obviously with Captain Erica being like interested in possibly killing or maybe falling for Dracula, she's just like, yeah, sure. I'll meet you tonight. We'll go on a date late midnight tonight.
Cantina at midnight.
Yeah. She leaves. Meanwhile, Tinkles follows her scent and leads Dennis and Winnie to like a secret door, but they don't go inside. They just pull him away.
Right. Well, this alerts Van Helsing, who like flips the table, pulls out a gun, and he's like, I'm ready to go down fighting.
Yeah, and he like bursts out the door, and they're all gone now. There's just a bunch of slobber where Tinkles was. Right.
Which, like, more like, it would be interesting if they at least heard him and was like, there's some weird old guy back there, right?
Yeah, it does. It feels kind of like, again, just a pointless scene. Like nothing changes in this scene. They don't see anything. Van Helsing doesn't see anything.
We're validating Tinkles is what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we just cut to Mavis and Johnny. They're on a date. And Mavis is like, do you think my dad's acting weird? I'm getting a strange vibe from him on this trip. And Johnny's like, no, I mean, he seems mostly cool. He's definitely like fallen in love with the captain, but other than that, he seems totally normal.
Oh, well, this is also at the next stop, the deserted isle.
Right, yeah.
Wanda and Wayne play fetch, which, foreplay, I guess.
Yeah. They're throwing a frisbee back and forth into the water and going to catch it. Yeah, it's pretty cute.
Right, and then the kids roll up.
Yeah.
They're like, we want to play too.
Yeah. But when Johnny tells Mavis that Dracula has a crush on Captain Erica, she's like, wait, what? No, he doesn't. That's not... Of course, that would never happen.
Right.
He's like, but if it does, like, you want your dad to be happy, right?
Right. Yeah.
And she's like, sure, yeah, I definitely...
But not with her.
Right.
Then we get to something that really offended me. Okay, guys, we need to talk about the chupacabra here. All right?
I figured that's what you were going to say.
Uh-huh. Okay, first off, chupacabra was initially a Puerto Rican thing, damn it. Stop trying to make him Mexican. He's not Mexican. I mean, they found him in Mexico, sure, later on, but he started in Puerto Rico. And why would they dress him? Like, I get it. It's shorthand for Latino, I guess. But the mariachi suit?
Mm-hmm.
And why does he look like Donkey? with a mustache.
Yeah, he's got a little mustache. He's got like a pompadour.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm offended on all accounts of this. All of them.
Yeah, and he goes up to the bar and asks for a drink, and they pull out a goat.
Yeah, goat in a glass, a martini glass.
Yeah.
Which, okay, that's funny. He is a goat sucker. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but that's pretty much all we get from him, right? They just like throw in one little sight gag with him and move on.
Right. Okay. It's just anytime it's like, oh yeah, the chupacabra is an ancient Mexican bullshit. Fuck you, Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah, and like you said, yeah, like anytime that it's like, we need to have this character be clearly Mexican, so mariachi suit and curly mustache.
Right.
Like, thankfully he's not in a giant sombrero, but
right.
It's not too far off.
I feel like maybe they were trying out a new character and everyone was like, no, Adam. This one's got to stay. It's got 5 seconds. That's the shelf life. That's it. We're done.
Yeah. So then we get Dracula and Erica on their date at midnight. And Erica's got like a big dish of guacamole that she puts a bunch of garlic into when Dracula is looking away.
Right. She spikes the guacamole, man.
So she's still conflicted, like she keeps finding herself being interested in Dracula, but she is genuinely also trying to kill him.
Right. Which she's like, oh, there's a lot of garlic in here, Are you sure you'll be okay? And he's like, oh, I'm just garlic intolerant. So
yeah,
gas ensues.
Yeah, then we get some fart jokes pretty much. And then we see that Mavis and Johnny are outside like surfing on dolphins.
Well, Mavis and Johnny come over and try the guac as well. And why, if you knew you were garlic intolerant, when Johnny was like, hey, there is a shit ton of garlic in this guacamole, would you go, I'm going to dip my chip in it and find out?
Yeah. Yeah, and so then again, Mavis tries
like,
it.
I guess it's like lactose intolerant, right? Mm. You love it even more, right. Just because it hurts you.
Yeah. And so then we get another fart joke with Mavis.
Yeah.
So then it's like Mavis and Johnny are kind of talking. There's a bit there where like Dracula and the captain kind of talk. They start to sort of bond because
they bond over family losses.
Mm-hmm.
Erica lost her parents, whereas Dracula lost his wife.
Yeah, and so they're about to kiss, and that's when Johnny and Mavis show up. And
also we actually get the central theme of this whole movie, or at least the idea of trying to push, is that, listen, you can honor the past, but look to the future and try to stay with your family, which to me, found family is almost more important than biological family.
Yeah.
So I guess family is everything to a point. As what Dom Toretto would say.
Right.
About family.
And yeah, but Dracula kind of panics when Mavis gets there, and he's like, "We weren't on a date. We were just talking about the hospitality industry,
right, business."
Yeah.
I like that she bought it though. She's like, "Dude, he was just talking about business," and Johnny's like, "Uh huh."
Yeah. But then that's everybody kind of parts ways then, and that's when that Johnny finds the garlic and everything. So I think that again, that leads Mavis to think something's fishy about the captain, because she knows Dracula's a vampire, and everybody knows garlic and vampires don't mix.
Right. But luckily wasn't it actually lethal in the first one? Wasn't garlic actually lethal? I feel like it was in the first Hotel Transylvania. It's been so long ago. We've seen many, at least 2 human centipedes since then, so my brain's kind of warped.
Right.
Oh well.
Then we're with the captain again, and I don't know what those things are called, the pipes that stick out of boat decks.
That those are just air horns.
Oh, okay. And Van Helsing, Abraham Van Helsing's head telescopes up and peeks through the pipe.
A legit jump scare. It's like what's her name? Not Slagra from the Dark Crystal. You know what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. He's just kind of nagging Erica. We got to stick to the plan. You can't mess it up by
Agra. Sorry,
Agra. Okay, yeah. He's nervous that if she tries to kill Dracula and gets caught, it could, mess up everything.
Yeah. So she's gotta tone it down with trying to kill the Dracula.
Yeah. But then Wayne and Wanda happen to walk by and they overhear all of this, and Van Helsing immediately just like pulls out a trank.
How do you like to smell my tranquilizer darts?
Yeah. Knocks them both out and then like locks them in like a closet downstairs.
Right. Which, that's kind of rough, but I mean, at least they get quality time alone, right?
Right.
So now we finally arrive in Atlantis.
Yep. And as soon as they arrive, like this giant kraken starts kind of like erupting from the depths. And it's like, oh no, something, bad's going to happen. But nope, he's just going to sing a song.
Right. Well, okay. And basically, it turns out they've turned Atlantis into a casino.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I look at this and I'm like, this is a pun. This is Atlantis City.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. I'm glad we're both on the same boat.
Yeah.
Same page.
Yep. And so, so he's singing in like the kind of like Vegas, like Barry Manilow kind of deal, or like a Wayne Newton, those kind of performers. So yeah, everybody's kind of walking through the casino.
Eunice tells like Frank not to go gambling because last time he lost an arm and a leg.
Yeah. Yep. And Dracula tells all the guys that like he wants to tell Mavis how he's feeling. He thinks that's the next step, is like to talk to her, see how she feels about this. So he knows if Mavis isn't comfortable, they need to talk about that before he just goes blindly pursuing something.
Right. So he's actually thinking about his daughter's feelings, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice thing to do.
But then Erica walks by and he's like, I'll talk to Mavis in a minute. I'm going to go. Yeah. I'm going to go talk to Erica first. So he chases after her. We get this whole bit where like she goes downstairs.
Well, also Mavis goes looking for Dracula,
mm-hmm.
and Johnny's like, I'm just here waiting for Bob.
Yeah, because Johnny's like, Bob's like Johnny and Bob have become friends somehow, and he just does not realize that Bob is Tinkles.
Yeah, it's his dog.
Yeah.
That's why they're friends.
So yeah, Mavis turns into a bat and is like following Dracula. So we get like Dracula following Erica, Mavis following Dracula, and nobody knows about the other. And they end up down in this secret chamber. Eventually, Erica steps on a trap, and Dracula immediately swoops in, catches an axe like inches from her head, obviously saving her and revealing that he was following her.
Right, which she's kind of uncomfortable with. Because she's here to get something that's going to kill him.
Yeah. And she's like, I can't believe you saved me. I'm a human. And he's like, human, monster, what's the difference?
Aw, he's finally internalized that lesson. Good for him.
Yeah. She's like, well, I came down here. I got to retrieve this long-lost family heirloom.
Right. The lie.
Yeah. And so she's like, I got to keep heading that way. And she immediately steps on another trap, and Dracula catches it again, saves her again.
And then we get a cute little scene where she's like, well, you can't save me forever. And Dracula's like, wanna bet?
And yeah, it's like an elaborate like dance scene / flirting scene where like Dracula's just getting shot with arrows and spears and all and he's protecting Erica from all of it.
Right. I like to call this the setting off the traps tango.
Yeah. Yeah, it does have like a tango kind of music behind them as it's going on. And then ultimately she gets to the item, which it's like a tentacle. It's like a little tentacle thing.
It's a bad dragon tentacle. That's where it is.
And it's like, but it's being held up by this like giant statue hand. It's like holding it between like just its fingers. Like it's like a tiny little, comparatively tiny little tentacle. And as soon as she grabs it, stuff just starts collapsing all around them. Like the chamber is just falling apart. They
manage to escape pretty easily because Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
And as they do, and by the way, they fly out of a statue's nose to safety, which is always fun. Erica then is trying to pull an axe out of Dracula's head, and that's when Mavis comes in.
Mm-hmm. And
she's like, I knew you were trying to kill him.
Yeah, and Dracula's like, no, wait, Mavis, it's not what it looks like. I zinged. And Erica's like, you what? What happened?
Right.
And
because that's not known amongst, I guess, human culture.
Yeah, which it makes, like we've kind of been hypothesizing this whole time that the zing thing was a monster thing.
And it is.
Now they say it's a monster thing. Like it's how we know that, we're meant to be.
Mm-hmm. Aw. But of course, that's when Erica freaks out and she's like, I could never love someone like you. Mm-hmm. Which, that's gross.
Yeah.
But.
And so she storms out and Dracula's heartbroken. And, Mavis is like, I'm sorry. And he's like, well, it's fine. You heard what she said. It's over. And she's like, but a zing never lies, right?
Yeah.
So not only has Mavis kind of accepted that, that her dad might move on to somebody after her mom, but she's like, don't give up on this. This is still worth, so she's like giving Erica a chance. So that's a big step as well.
Right. After she said that. But then, of course, we then see Erica taking the artifact back to her great-grandpa, who, once he receives it, does a techno dance because he's German, I guess.
Right. Yeah, he's like, it's time to lure the monsters with a dance party.
Dun, dun, dun. By the way, I guess because he is who he is, any dance would be a techno dance, right?
True. He's doing the robot.
Right.
And then we get like a little montage of all the different monsters getting ready for the party. The main one is that we see Frankenstein is having trouble zipping up Eunice's dress for her because he gambled his hands away and he had to replace them with lobster claws he got from the buffet.
Jeez. I mean, that's rough. That's an addiction. We need to talk, Frank.
Yeah.
And of course, Blobby's son, Blob Jr., is, kind of bored. So Blobby decides he's going to make a bloggy, or a dog, Blob, for Blob Jr.
Yeah. Then we get like all the monsters are being led to where the party's going to be. And then it's like this bridge, and then it's just, it ends, and it's like, what's going on? Have we been tricked? And then suddenly, out of the ocean rises...
motherfucking DJ in a clamshell.
Yeah. So we have a whole big like dance floor that just comes up out of the ocean. Mm-hmm. Again, Dracula's kind of sad, like things aren't going the way he wants, and he sees all the couples dancing and everything again.
The best part is he's dancing sadly. Like he's all hunched over, kind of dancing.
Yeah. And Mavis is talking to Johnny, and she's like, I don't know what to do. Like, I want to help my dad, but like, I just don't know. And Johnny... Johnny's kind of, the dumb guy who every now and then just has like sage wisdom to give because he's just so chill and hippie-like, and that's pretty much what happens here. He gives her all this advice. She immediately goes to Dracula and then just repeats it all right back to Dracula.
Verbatim. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, she gets a little bit of it backwards, which is funny. But I like how they find out where he learned it. It was from like some Shaolin Kung Fu show.
Yeah. Mavis is like, I was afraid of losing you. I don't want you to move on and like have a new family and just forget about us.
Right. Of course he never could. That's his baby.
Yeah. Obviously, he's never going to leave Mavis. And she's like, but, if you fall in love with the captain, you might like live on the boat. And he was like, I will never live on the boat.
So in the next one, we expect him to fully be on a boat.
And so he's going to go talk to the captain, but suddenly the DJ is interrupted by Van Helsing. And it's like one of those deals where he pops out and he's like, it's me, I'm back. And
your
they're
greatest
like,
foe.
Who are you again? Right. I don't recognize you.
That's the ultimate slam dunk.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm the guy you've been waiting for. No, I don't think you are.
Yeah. And at that, he finally is like, I'm Van Helsing. And then, he's like, and this is, the captain is my granddaughter. And, Erica has to admit, yes, she's been sort of undercover and she is a Van Helsing.
And Mavis gets the I knew it moment.
Mm-hmm. And so then Van Helsing takes the tentacle and unscrews the top. It's a little canister, and inside is sheet music.
They're going to kill them with songs.
And, so it's like, it's like an old scroll. Like, this is like, it should be like played by like a symphony, but instead he plays it on like this techno synth that the DJ has sitting there.
Right. And we finally find out what the actual like ultimate weapon is, and it's just the Kraken.
The Kraken appears again, but now he's like hypnotized by the music and starts attacking.
Angry.
Yeah. So the monsters all kind of start trying to run away. Dracula tries to fight the Kraken and is immediately grabbed by like multiple tentacles and is crushed.
Seemingly.
Yeah. And Erica sees and, runs to try to help Dracula.
And this is when Tinkles actually pays off because he helps Erica get to Dracula.
She like rides his back up the side of the Kraken. Like she could have easily done anything else, but
literally. But Frank could have given her a fastball special, and that would have been just the same.
Yeah. So she gets up to where like the ball of tentacles wrapped around Dracula, and like kind of starts to pull them off of him, and they all fall together, landing, hanging off a cliff. Where
right, and Grandpa's like, or Van Helsing is like, "What's this? Why did you save Dracula?"
Yeah. And yeah, so Erica admits to Dracula, I was trying to kill you, but I realized the error of my ways and I zinged. Like, yeah, so it's mutual.
Right. And of course, because Van Helsing is such a villain, he's like, well, I guess the line ends with me. Gotta kill them both.
Yeah. And so he just continues to play his music and escalate things. But then Jonathan pulls out his travel DJ gear that he keeps with him at all times.
Right. And it's time to fight evil music with good music, quote unquote.
Yeah. And so first he plays Good Vibrations. And, like Van Helsing is like playing, an original piece on like the synth, but Jonathan is just blasting. He's not he's a wedding type DJ, right. Not like a DJ.
He will not be providing anything original in this.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he's done nothing to the song. It just is Good Vibrations.
Yeah. And that kind of works. The Kraken seems to kind of calm down, but Van Helsing escalates, and then Jonathan has to raise the
counter
stakes.
With Be Happy by, what's his name?
Is it Bobby McFerrin?
Yes, Bobby McFerrin. Thank you.
Yeah, Don't Worry, Be Happy. And then, again, it goes back and forth, and then Johnny pulls out his
the big guns.
Yep, the Macarena.
God, and they actually updated this one, so I guess good for that. Like, what they were trying to do, Anthony? I have a feeling that they were trying some nefarious bullshit with this. Because you know how much of an earworm the Macarena is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like they were trying to bring the Macarena back. And just because this movie wasn't great, it didn't succeed.
Yeah, which thank God, like
right, I could not do with another round of Macarena.
Right, but they do it like all the monsters do the Macarena dance, and I think the Kraken even does the dance.
Oh yeah, he starts it off. He kicks it off.
Mm-hmm. So that defeats Van Helsing somehow, and he ends up falling from the DJ booth.
Well, even he becomes a slave to the rhythm.
Yeah, but Dracula manages to catch him and save him from falling, and he's like, why would you save me after everything I've done? And Dracula gives his little speech, and he's like, we're all the same, whether we've got 2 eyes or 3 eyes or green skin or no skin.
Right.
Yeah, we're all the same, and we should care for each other. And I know we didn't see eye to eye back in the day, but I've moved on, and I want to give you the chance to do the same.
Oh, that's adorable. And at this moment, Erica and Drac officially, visibly zing.
Mm-hmm. Like it's like this weird sort of like thing that happens in their eyes. Like you see this little like spark move around the iris or whatever.
Like a purple pink kind of thing.
Yeah, and it happens to both of them.
Right, and immediately Winnie walks up to Dennis. It's like, Dennis, look me in the eyes.
Yeah,
we're gonna zing, buddy.
Yeah, and he keeps like looking away, and he's like, "But I'm too young to zing."
Which, fair for him being responsible.
Yeah. Then, Van Helsing is like, all right, yeah, I'm sorry for trying to kill everybody. I'll give everybody a 30% refund on the cruise.
How generous of you. And everyone's like, boo.
And then he's like, all right, I'll give you a full refund.
Hey.
And then we just cut back to the Hotel Transylvania. We have like the invisible couple who we like have barely seen in this movie.
Right.
They see Wanda and Wayne stroll in, and they're like, "Where were you guys? We haven't seen you like the whole cruise."
Yeah, it turns out like part of the way through we got tranked and threw into a closet, so we've booked it again. Ha cha 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 cha.
Yeah. So then Dracula takes Erica up on the roof because, you know, that's what you do for a romantic moment in a Hotel Transylvania movie.
That's the romance spot.
They're like talking and flirting, and she does an impression of him and does the blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. But he shrugs it off. He's a good sport about it.
Yeah. And then he proposes.
And she does the gibberish thing this time. Speaking in Transylvanian, as it were.
Yeah, and
everyone's like, "What? What did she say?"
Yeah, because like they're up on the roof by themselves, and while she's like speaking gibberish and Drax like waiting for her response, all of the monsters from the movie, like, you know, 20, 30 monsters pop up over like the crest of the roof. They've all been hiding there, waiting to see what she says. Mm-hmm. And yeah, finally she manages to get yes out, and all the monsters cheer.
Yay! And then of course we then get Genndy Tartakovsky animation, where he basically gets to say, "And this is how I cash my check."
Yeah. Which I thought, these animation bits, it's mostly just like the monsters from the movie and like 2D animation, like dragging the names of like producers and editors and stuff. I think I did like this one better than the last one. The last one was just like two random characters. It was like the monster girl, like it wasn't any of our main characters, whereas this one, it was all, it was Dracula and Erica and everything. And
mostly Dracula and Erica.
Yeah, and it also felt like it kind of recapped the movie in like a cute sort of 2D animation style. So that was kind of nice.
You know what we missed in this, though? There was no old imp lady who went to say, "I didn't do that." Yeah,
we didn't get her this time.
Well, hopefully nothing bad happened to her. She was elderly.
Yeah. Maybe she'll be back for part 4.
Maybe, I don't know.
My understanding is part 4 is very different. I think Genndy Tartakovsky's gone. I think Adam Sandler might even be gone.
I feel like 4 is probably, the cast has moved on, but Sony wants more money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm curious to see. And that one's relatively new. Like, it came out post-COVID at some point, like direct to Prime.
Right? Which, that says everything, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we're excited for that. But first, we've got to get through another round of shit. I mean, the human centipede.
Yeah.
You got there, didn't you?
Yeah, it's. I'm dreading this one.
Oh, okay. I thought you actually watched part of it already.
No. I know it's gonna be rough, and I'm. I'm dreading it in that way where it's like, this is gonna be so bad that it's gonna be interesting. I'm sure we'll have a good conversation about it, but I'm also like, I don't know what I'm about to get myself into.
Oh yeah. Well, we did this to ourselves, Anthony. So, like Victor, we flew too close to the sun, and now it's time to get burned.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to spoil too much, but there's a reason why it has a 2.8 out of 10 on IMDb, 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 5% on Metacritic.
Okay.
Join us next week with Dieter Laser making a return, as well as Lawrence Harvey playing totally different characters. And this time, because we're making it more mainstream? Question mark. Either that or Eric Roberts and Brie Olson need to pay some people off. But we're getting them as well.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
That's unexpected. Okay.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Tommy Lister's in it.
Okay.
Fucking Bibo Lottie. So, that's going to be fun.
Yep. Sure is.
Yep. All right. Well, where can they find us, Anthony?
So you can find us on all the socials at The Frankencast. You can email us at thefrankencast@gmail.com. You can find us on YouTube. And we're also at patreon.com/thefrankencast. And I just got a message from Patreon just a little bit ago that we're allowed now to open up trials. So you can now go to patreon.com/thefrankencast and join for free for, I think it's like a week. So you
try
can,
before you buy.
Yeah, you can, if you want to go crazy, I think there's like 50-ish episodes there. You could binge through them all in a week if you wanted.
There's a lot of fun and a lot of weird shit.
Yeah, so, we've been doing the little previews on the main feed, and we'll probably keep doing those, but there's also now this other opportunity where you can listen to some whole episodes and see if you want to stick around.
Absolutely. All right. Well, anything else we got to say about this?
I think that's it.
Well, in that case, to be continued, blah, blah, blah.
Looks like you survived another episode. The Frankencast is a production of FCR Media. It's hosted by Anthony Bowman and Eric Velasquez. Follow us on Twitter at The Frankencast, or send us a letter at thefrankencast@gmail.com. Our cover art is by Amanda Keller. You can find her at Keller Illustrations on Instagram. Our theme music is by Vivek Abhishek. Thanks for listening.